Hey, what's up YouTube? Goratha here. So today I want to talk about the nerfs of my build. This is a quick update video on the Fireball, Frostwall, Cast and Freeze Comet build. The good news is, we actually, as Blood Mages, got a buff. Leech now works, so Vitality Siphon's now good. And there are some upsides here, but let's get into it. Cast and Freeze Comet is completely destroyed for mapping. It is very bad for clear speed now. It basically only procs on bosses and rare monsters. It's kind of been relegated to a more of a support utility type of thing. You can still use it with Comet for bosses. It helps a little bit with the single target. I haven't quite decided whether or not I'm going to use it for Comet or Flamewall. And yeah, let's talk about Flamewall. So, the build has been transitioned into a more Fireball-oriented build. Fireball is majority of the damage now with Frostwall. Kind of the way it worked before you get Cast and Freeze in the first place. Fireball blows up the Frostwalls and much damage. We're just taking it a step further by adding Mana Flare, and we're adding a bunch of projectiles on the tree, as well as a bunch of AoE everywhere. The AoE helps overlap with the Fireballs. Fireballs are all shotgun and AoE and overlap, and then we have loads of projectiles. Loads. They're going everywhere. Quality on Fireball is also projectiles. So if you get quality here, give you some extra chance as well. That's kind of the way the gameplay is going to be. You can pop Winter on bosses for cold exposure and for crit debuff. You can throw out some cross bombs if you want. That's pretty much the playstyle. Now in this current build, I have Cast and Freeze with Flamewall, Fire Mastery, Impetus, and Concentrate Effect. By the way, I will be linking this in the description below, and I will be updating the video probably as soon as I have the perfect setup. This is a setup that works, and I tested it quite a bit yesterday after the nerfs, and it's working quite well. But there might be changes to the build, so I figured I'd mention that here. Frostwall. So Fireball, Frostwall, these are the two big ones. I guess I should start with Fireball. Fireball, Scatter Shot, Unleash. This is the same before. Wild Charge, also the same. Mana Flare. Mana Flare scales up your mana, and when you crit, it deals fire damage equal to 20% of your current mana. So this means Mana Sustain is quite important, and I do have to take some mana on the tree as well. This is why I'm thinking that we don't run Comet, because Comet is still a good single target on bosses, but we run out of mana really fast, so our DPS just goes down really, really fast. So having some way to recover mana and not draining all our mana instantly with Comet is also quite nice. There's also where I should talk about the upside to the nerf, and that is Cast and Freeze Comet was a lot of mana and life. So when you're bossing and mapping before, you're constantly like ping-ponging, and your mana was going down really fast, and your life was going down really fast. The build is a lot more stable. Mana doesn't really go down that fast anymore, unless you're fighting a boss. And while mapping, you don't really notice anything at all. So that's good. Definitely a lot tankier. Also, another thing that's an upside. Shields were not bugged, but they were not applying to monsters that hit you from behind. So this is also a very big buff trust, because now it applies to all monsters, hitting you whenever. So you're a lot tankier with the build now. So definitely some upsides here. Not all bad. Oh, not all downsides. There is a big downside though. As I mentioned, the tree is kind of changing quite a bit. I've had to change the tree around. I believe AoE is probably the most important after testing. AoE is really important for Frostwall, Fireball. It kind of flashbangs a little bit too, to be honest. So it's a little bit weird with that. And yeah, you still need to go crit. I'm currently taking Thingamancy, Force Spike, and Center of the Flesh. I really wanted to go Crimson Power endgame, but I'll have to play around with it. Center of the Flesh is pretty good damage, so we'll have to see. And like I said, Leech is buffed. I haven't been taking it because I want Center of the Flesh for Firewall. But yeah, this is the kind of how the build's going now with the tree. I'm going to post this in the description below as well. It's pretty similar to Leveling Tree still, and the Leveling Tree is still pretty up to date. Like the Maxwell leveling guide, I mean. If anything, it's kind of exactly the same. You can still use Cast and Freeze Comet while leveling. It'll help on bosses a bit. You can also, if you do Cast and Freeze Comet, by the way, you need to cast Flamewall manually. Flamewall is a big portion of your damage. Projectiles which pass through the wall deal extra fire damage, and this applies to every single fireball. When you get a Wild Charge proc, you're sending out like 16 projectiles or something with like the Unleash. It's like quite a bit of damage, so keep that in mind. Flame Wall on the boss, Frostwall on the boss, Fireball, Shotgun, everything, blow everything up. Now let's talk about some of the changes with the gear. Yeah, so we're using a series sustain. This gives us maximum life equal to, or 30% of maximum life as extra energy shield. With that in mind, I am taking a couple energy shield nodes on the tree. I'll probably end up actually taking even more later if we get more points, or if I change the tree around. But I'm pathing through the beginning at least, at the moment. This will give me around 1,000 ES. I mean, we can double that with Grim Feast, which is another thing I changed. We're not running Grim Feast while mapping. You'll need extra Spirit to run this if you don't have any. And we're still running Blasphemy Temp Chains. Now, I was testing out Blasphemy, Hypothermia, and Blasphemy Temp Chains. I'm not quite sure exactly which is better. But basically, Temp Chains makes monsters stay frozen longer, which helps with Heavy Frost. Hypothermia makes monsters get frozen earlier, because you have higher hit damage earlier, before the Heavy Frost. Not quite sure which I prefer yet, but those are the two ideas. You also might notice on the tree we don't have these nodes up here. Glaciation would probably be worth taking, even though we have Heavy Frost, and Endless Blizzard and Inexplicable Cold are also probably worth taking. Unfortunately, the tree is very point starved now, and I don't really see what you drop first. Maybe you can drop some of the crit stuff. But yeah, you really need the AoE, you really need the Ice Crystal for your life, you really need the Projectiles. Very, very point starved now. I am taking extra Jewel sockets because I think Jewels are really overpowered. Kind of what's going on with the tree. Now for the gear. Like I said, Zero Sustain. This works with EB actually. EB converts all your energy shield to mana. In POE2, this doesn't like chain convert. So you have the energy shield converting to mana. And then you have your 30% life is extra ES. So you still have ES, you'll get more mana from Mana Flare and from Mana Regen. And you'll have the ES still. That's how EB is working, is why we have it, basically. Not sure if it's required, but it does give us a couple hundred extra mana, which will work well with the Mana Flare and Mana Recovery rate. Blue Flame Blazers. These are still required. Fire damage is pretty bad in the tree, like the nodes. Cold damage nodes are a lot better. So that's the main reason for that. To be honest with you, the freeze is also really overpowered. Like, Beyond the Freeze monsters is really good defensively. So I really like these racers. You can use a Snake Pit. I was testing it out. It seems okay. People were going crazy over it. I think it is maybe worth using. I'll have to test it some more. Definitely not worth hundreds of Exalts or anything. It's an option. And yeah, pretty much everything I want to talk about. I want to get a quick video out to give you guys some help with the build, because Acid Freeze Comet is definitely dead. Fireball is doing majority of the damage now. I am pretty happy with how it turned out after testing last night, though. I think the build potentially is even stronger than before the patch. There might be a little bit of copium, but at the very least, it's more stable, it's tankier, and I think the damage can be pretty good still. So, also the clear speed's really good with Fireball. So, overall, I'm relatively happy with this still, and I'm glad that Fireball seems like it's still viable. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.